Oh, g'day. I'm Mark from Self Sufficient Me, and I do like browsing for seeds online. And one of my favourite places to look is on eBay, because you can sometimes find interesting and rare seeds and plants from amateur sellers that you can't buy anywhere else. However, there are some scams, and whilst I haven't been that gullible to fall for the blue and rainbow coloured strawberries, I mean, fair dinkum, I heard Bigfoot grows them in his raised garden up in his secret cabin in the hills. Yeah, not. Anyway, I'm still a sucker for trying new things and experimenting. So in this video, I thought I would try these giant eggplant seeds I purchased off eBay and see if they were giant, but also if they tasted okay and were worth growing to eat. Let's get into it. So I came across a listing on eBay. Eggplant, giant black beauty, 100 seeds. Wow, impressive and excellent flavour. And so I bought them. I sowed the seed in a couple of small pots that I'd prepared from some seed raising mix, and they must have been pretty viable because a ton of them germinated. After about 2 weeks, and when the seedlings were about 10 centimetres or 4 inches high, I decided to plant them out into a raised bed. I prepared the bed with an extra topping of soil mixed with some cow manure just to add a bit of richness and to fill the bed, which had sunk down a little bit, just like this one here. Then I added some organic fertiliser. In this case it was blood and bone, sprinkled liberally because I know eggplants are a hungry crop, and if these were giants, then the plants will likely require even more energy than usual. I watered the fertiliser in so that it was less likely to burn the stems and roots of the young seedlings after transplanting. Finally, I added a thick layer of mulch to retain moisture and to help prevent weeds from growing in between the plants. The seedlings had good root growth and they looked healthy, so at this stage I thought that the seedlings would do well to survive transplant shock, even though I would usually pot them up into separate small punnets and leave grow some more before planting out into the garden. In this case, I made a small hole and carefully planted the seedlings about 40 centimetres or a foot apart to give them plenty of room to grow. I watered the seedlings in to settle the roots and kept up the water to ensure they didn't dehydrate in our hot, humid summer weather. Unfortunately, not all the seedlings made it, but I had plenty in backup anyway, just in case I needed them. And I would highly recommend keeping some backups because you never know what can happen to your crop. But if you do have some spares, it's as easy as just replacing them if required. And here we are, 4 months later, and you can see that the plants are actually quite big and healthy. They're growing well. Not all of them did survive, and that's why you see these gaps in and around the beds here. But that's not a problem. I mean, they're supposed to be giant eggplants, so I'm figuring that there's plenty of food off the number of plants that did survive, which is a good half dozen anyway. You might also notice that I should have used some stakes. I don't know what I was thinking. Growing giant eggplants and I couldn't be bothered supporting them. So you got this falling over effect and the fruit touching the ground, which is not ideal in some places. But just overall, the plants trying their best to stay upright, but as the fruit grows, of course, it pushes them over. I guess they'll probably never forgive me. Hey, what do you get when you rub an eggplant? An aubergine. I also grew one in a pot just as a test to see how it would go in a container. The container isn't huge, as you can see, and I did stake this one, but the plant didn't grow as big, and nor did the fruit. Even though I gave it some good liquid fertilizer, it still didn't grow as good as the ones in the raised garden bed. And I think that's exactly it. You want a larger pot than that, or a larger container, and you probably want to give it a little bit more food than what I did to get better results if you're growing them in containers. But how about size? Well, this one that I just picked then from the broken plant, that's not too bad. It's not ginormous. I mean, unless those guys have little hands and arms, I mean, I've got big hands, so it probably looks a bit smaller than it is, but it's still a nice sized eggplant. But there are also quite a number of eggplants at different and varying sizes, so it just doesn't grow big eggplants. The largest one I've got, and I cut this one on just before I went on camera, is this one here. And keep in mind, I've let all these grow on just to see how big I could get them. So I would normally probably harvest them earlier, unless I was keeping them for seed, which I am. This one here could probably be kept for seed, but we're going to give it a bit of a taste test anyway, just to taste the older one so I can give you a rundown on what this tastes like. You can tell it's old because A, it's big, but B, it's actually changing colour. This one is starting to change colour too, but the darker they are and the younger they are, generally the smaller they are, the better they taste. They're not as fibrous or as bitter either, and I'm very keen to see what the bitterness is like in a second. But yeah, overall there are a number of good sized ones. If you look around, they're hanging there, there's some smaller ones, but generally they're decent sizes. What's that, you know, it's about 8 inches or so. It's fat, it's quite heavy, it probably weighs 1 kilo. It feels nice and solid. So it's a good fruit. The plants are healthy, besides me not staking them. They look good. It's been a really tough summer. They've had lots of rain, which is good and bad because it can wash the fertiliser away, but it also opens the plants up to lots of disease and pests when you've just got constant rain. So I'm actually surprised at how well the eggplants have done through this hot, humid and extra rainy season. Anyway, I'll sum up all this after we do a taste test. Let's go and do a taste test now. I'm going to get a smaller one just so that I can show you the difference between the larger one, medium size, and a smaller one. Welcome to my kitchen. All right, you got me, it's the shed. If you've been following me on social media, you would know that we are trying to build our dream pantry. If you want to see more of that, go on to my second channel, Self-Sufficient Me 2. The links are below, and you can follow that there. I haven't uploaded a lot yet, but I will be showing the build of our pantry and all that. And in the meantime, we have to use this shed as our kitchen and dining area. So, I'll need some oil. Oh, this is such a great pantry, it's so easy to see things. There we go, bit of olive oil. Turn this on. Put a bit of oil in the pan, nice and liberal amount of olive oil. Now let's just cut through the base of each one of these. 1 centimetre or so, 1/2 inch wide, and we'll cook them up. Small one. There. The medium sized one, well, medium for this type of eggplant. There, actually still looks pretty good. Nice tinge of green, very solid, not too chalky looking. And now the big fat one, that base there, let's cut that off first. Actually that's holding together quite well. I'm surprised. And let's so we've got the 3 of them, the small one, the medium one, and that large one that was already going old. Let's give them a sprinkle of Himalayan salt. Everything tastes better with Himalayan salt. A little bit of cracked pepper. Give them a turn. Starting to char up nicely there. Let this one on for a little bit longer to be fair so it's cooked through. You know you can eat eggplant raw, it's not a problem, but probably best if I cook it the same as these two. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Oh good, lovely. Like that down there. Looks nice. Alright, welcome to my dining room. Let's have a taste. I think I'll start with the small one first. I won't eat the skin, so I'll just chop a little piece off the small one. Smells nice. Well, you know how the old ones can get really bitter? The older type of aubergines or eggplants, you used to salt them, or my grandparents used to salt them to get the bitterness out of them, and then they were perfect to cook or whatever, or preserve. That's got the bitterness bred out of it, so it's really nice. Very nice, actually. Let's taste that medium-sized one. A few more seeds. Very similar type of taste. Okay, let's try this older one now. I'll keep the skin out, get a good chunky bit, and a good serving of it. Inner as well, so I'll get some seed with it. We'll try that out a bit first. And remember, this is the really, quite old, but the biggest one that we got. The steam coming off that. Firm because it was thicker. Not bitter. It's really good. And it's not fibrous, not bitter. I'm really actually quite happy. I'll be saving the seeds and growing these again. I thought I'd bring you back out here for the wrap up and get you out of the shed because I don't like being in there either. I'm still chewing on this. This is the big one. So my final thoughts on these, well, you can't call them gigantic or giant eggplants, but perhaps they would get bigger if I paid them a little bit more attention. They had, say, even better soil, fertilizer, and extra boost throughout the growing season and made them even huger. I don't know, but what I do know is they are still quite large. And what I'm even more happy with is the taste. These taste excellent. And I have to say, I recommend giving giant eggplants a grow in your garden. They're delicious, they're quite a hardy plant given the circumstances that we've had this season. Anyway, blue strawberries, as if, and who knows what they're going to think up next. Probably different coloured eggplants. Yeah, as if that would ever be a thing. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a big eggplant thumbs up and share the video around because that helps my channel out heaps. Also subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now. Really happy. I'll be saving the seeds. Cheers.